Welcome to Speaks Finance. Today we are going to be looking at Jamie Dimon's views on a range of topics like AI, the global economy, and even some personal insights. He's been CEO of JPMorgan Chase since 2005, which basically makes him, financial royalty. So his perspective is definitely worth listening to. Now you might think someone at Dimon's level would be all about, balance sheets and board meetings. But he's actually super open about the importance of family. He's got a wife and daughters, grandkids, the whole deal. He even talks about babysitting. I think it's refreshing to see that human side. Reminds us that even the giants of finance have lives outside of work. And it's not just lip service. Dimon has talked about juggling this binary life of work and family, and how even with his insane schedule, family always comes first. There's this great anecdote where he talks about his daughters, calling him out when he's wrong about something. Shows a real willingness to learn and be humbled, even by his own kids. I love that. Of course, you can't talk about Jamie Dimon without addressing the elephant in the room.
The too big to fail label that's often attached to JPMorgan Chase. It's a common criticism. But Dimon has a pretty strong counterargument. He says that the bank needs its enormous scale to handle these massive global transactions, the kind that keep economies running smoothly. He sees it as a responsibility almost. Like JPMorgan Chase is playing a crucial role in supporting the financial system as a whole. Makes you think, right? And speaking of responsibility, Dimon genuinely seems to feel a sense of duty toward the U.S. economy. He doesn't see it as just some abstract concept. He believes it's part of his job to help, especially when things get rocky. Think back to the 2008 financial crisis, or even the recent Silicon Valley Bank collapse. JPMorgan Chase stepped up in both situations, playing a key role in mitigating the damage. Dimon's take on financial crises is particularly interesting. He believes they're inevitable, like they're going to happen no matter what. History is full of examples, right? So his focus is on preparation. He's all about having enough capital and liquidity. That's basically the bank's cushion to ride out those storms. It's a lesson we can all apply to our own lives,
whether we're managing a household budget or a multi-million-dollar portfolio. Now let's talk about AI. Dimon is fully aware of its potential to revolutionize just about everything, including the financial world. He gets that AI will likely replace some jobs, but he also sees the flip side, the creation of new opportunities, new types of work we can't even imagine yet. It's about adaptation and being prepared for the shift, which is, honestly, good advice in any field. Dimon's also got some interesting thoughts on the whole super app trend. He predicts that we'll see a rise in mini super apps here in the US, apps that offer a bunch of financial services, all in one place. Think banking, investing, maybe even things like travel booking, all bundled together. It's a model that's huge in Asia. And Dimon thinks it's only a matter of time before it takes off here. JPMorgan Chase is already dipping its toes into this space with its move into travel services. You can now book flights and hotels through their app. It's a pretty clear sign that they're taking this trend seriously. But it's not all sunshine and roses with AI. Dimon is very vocal about his concerns, especially when it comes to the potential for misuse.
He's particularly worried about bad actors using AI for things like cyber attacks. Scary thought, right? The more powerful the technology gets, the more potential there is for it to be used for harmful purposes. Dimon is a strong advocate for putting guardrails on AI development, for setting some ground rules to minimize those risks. He knows it won't completely eliminate the threat, but he sees it as a necessary step. It's a delicate balance, and one that we're going to have to figure out as a society. Now let's shift gears and talk about the global landscape. Dimon sees the US-China relationship as the most critical one for the future. He's not blind to the tension, the trade wars, the geopolitical maneuvering. It's all real. But he believes it's crucial for the US and China to find a way to coexist and cooperate. The stakes are just too high to ignore. He stresses the need for strong American leadership to navigate this complex relationship, to find that sweet spot where both countries can thrive. It's a tall order for sure. But Dimon seems to believe it's possible. And, this isn't just about politics and economics. It's about values.
Dimon believes that the U.S. needs to stand up for its principles on the global stage, for things like democracy and human rights. He sees it as a fundamental part of American leadership. So we've covered a lot of ground here, from Dimon's personal life to his views on AI, the economy, and global affairs. He's a complex guy with a lot of interesting things to say. But I want to dig a little deeper into some of his specific insights. Let's start with his views on China. He's actually quite optimistic about the country's future, but he also believes that the U.S. needs to play a strong role in shaping that future. What do you think about that perspective? Is it realistic? Is it even desirable? And what about Dimon's stance on crypto? He's been famously critical of Bitcoin, calling it a fraud. But at the same time, he sees potential in blockchain technology. He seems to be saying that the underlying technology is valuable, even if he doesn't buy into the hype surrounding certain cryptocurrencies. Does that make sense to you? And finally, let's talk about Dimon's views on American leadership. He clearly believes that the U.S. needs to be a force for good in the world, to promote its values and interests on the global stage.
But is that a role the U.S. should even be playing? Is it possible in today's world? These are all tough questions, and there are no easy answers. But I think it's important to grapple with them, to really think about what kind of world we want to live in and what role the U.S. should play in shaping that world. Jamie Dimon's views might not always be popular, but they're definitely worth considering. He's a powerful voice in the world of finance, and his perspective can help us understand the complex forces shaping our lives. Now, I want to share a couple of quick, memorable takeaways from Dimon's world before we move on. He's got this great piece of advice that he often gives to young people: work smart, have a thought process, and don't be impulsive. It's simple but powerful advice, right? It applies to just about everything in life. And then there's the whole question of his legacy. Dimon has been at the helm of JPMorgan Chase for almost 2 decades, and there's a lot of speculation about who will eventually succeed him. It's a fascinating topic, and one that we'll be keeping an eye on. So there you have it, a glimpse into the mind of Jamie Dimon. What are your thoughts on his views on AI and the global economy?
What resonated with you the most? And here's the question to ponder. If Jamie Dimon were to write a book of life lessons, what do you think would be the most surprising or unexpected piece of advice he'd offer? What kind of wisdom would he impart based on his unique experiences? Think about that as you go about your day. Dimon seems to have this knack for connecting the dots, for seeing how things like AI, geopolitics, even personal values all intertwine. It's a big picture view that a lot of leaders lack, especially in finance, where it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day. And it's not just theoretical for him. Dimon really walks the walk when it comes to applying these principles at JPMorgan Chase. Take his approach to risk management, for example. He constantly stresses the need to be prepared for the unexpected. He's been through multiple financial crises. He knows they're not just, hypothetical. That experience has clearly shaped his leadership style. It's almost like he's playing chess, always thinking a few moves ahead of everyone else. And it's not just finance. This foresight applies to his views on global affairs, too. His perspective on China is a perfect example.
He recognizes China's economic power. I mean, you can't ignore that, right? But he's also clear-eyed about the potential risks. He's not afraid to call out China's human rights record or its aggressive actions in the South China Sea. He's definitely not one to shy away from difficult conversations. That's what makes him so compelling. His views on crypto are another great example. He's been a vocal critic of Bitcoin, even calling it a fraud. But here's the thing. He doesn't dismiss blockchain technology altogether. He separates the hype from the underlying potential. It's a nuanced perspective that you don't hear often in the crypto world, which tends to be, pretty polarized. But that's Dimon for you. He cuts through the noise and focuses on what really matters. So why should you care about any of this? What can we learn from Jamie Dimon, even if we're not running, a global bank?
Well, I think there are some universal lessons here. His emphasis on preparation and risk management, for example, that's relevant to everyone, whether you're planning for retirement or just trying to manage your daily finances, and his insights into AI and the future of work.
Both are crucial. As technology continues to transform the way we live and work, we can't just bury our heads in the sand. We need to be prepared for the changes that are coming. And then there's his perspective on global affairs and the role of American leadership. Whether you agree with him or not, his views are worth considering, especially as we navigate an increasingly complex and uncertain world. He's someone worth listening to, even if you don't work in finance or follow the markets closely. He offers a unique blend of experience, pragmatism, and even a bit of, wisdom. Okay, before we wrap up, I want to touch on a couple more interesting tidbits from Dimon's world. First, the question of succession. He's been at the helm of JPMorgan Chase for a long time, and there's been a lot of speculation about who will eventually take his place. It's one of the biggest mysteries in finance, and it'll be fascinating to see how it plays out. And then there's his personal advice. I love this one. He tells his 20-year-old self to work smart, have a thought process, and don't be impulsive. It's such simple advice, but it's so powerful. It's a reminder that success isn't just about luck or talent.
It's about making good decisions and developing the right habits. I think that's a great place to leave things for now. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought. If Jamie Dimon were to write a book of life lessons, what do you think would be the most surprising or unexpected piece of advice he'd offer? What kind of wisdom would he impart based on his unique experiences? Think about that as you go about your day. So there you have it, a glimpse into the mind of Jamie Dimon, one of the most influential figures in finance. What do you think about Dimon's perspectives on AI and the global economy? What resonated with you the most? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget to check out other videos on our channel, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. #SpeaksFinance.